Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini, and I'm back with another video. First, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who took a moment to fill out the survey I gave you in the last video. I was asking viewers to respond with what are the top 2 issues that you struggle with the most when it comes to making bag projects. And so I got your feedback. Almost 1,000 of you have responded to that survey, so thank you for your time. It is definitely great data, and it is helping us put the final touches on my upcoming Video Bag of the Month Club, which is almost ready to be released. And if you missed that first video, I gave you 3 money-saving tips that you can apply in your handbag making projects. If you missed it, I'll leave you a link below so you can go back and watch that video. But we all know that making handbags can get very costly. There's exterior fabrics. That means you can use leather, pleather, cork fabric, vinyl. All that stuff is more expensive typically than your regular quilting cotton fabrics. Then we have the interfacings, the foams, the stabilizers, the fusible fleece. And then you even have hardware, all the different types of metal hardware, depending on the construction of the bag. Whether it has a crossbody adjustable strap, or maybe just handles, or rivets, whatever it is, there's so many different costs that can quickly add up. So if you want to check out those tips, definitely make sure that you click the link in the description box so you can watch the first video where I give you 3 money-saving tips. Now in this video, I'm sharing with you a tip that I noticed came up a lot in the survey answers. One of the top issues that so many of you struggle with is the lining in a handbag. So some people mentioned birthing the bag, like when you flip the bag right side out through the lining, they just can't seem to get that lining to lie flat on the inside of the bag. Other people mentioned the same issue, but with a drop-in lining. So I'm going to share with you my favorite tip that allows you to still cut out your pattern pieces, just as the pattern instructs, but when you get to the sewing machine, one quick tweak and it will save your lining from looking all crumpled and bundled up inside your bag and instead allow it to lie flat. Now, before I share that tip with you, let's talk a little bit about my upcoming Video Bag of the Month Club. I've been hosting these bag clubs for almost 4 years now. Thousands of you have joined. So many hundreds and hundreds of pictures of finished bags, of bags that my patterns you have changed up and made your own, which I love to see because that means that my instruction is giving you the confidence and is building your technique base so that you feel confident to tweak the patterns, make them your own, add different handles, add different pockets, different compartments. So that is what my teaching style is all about. Now, in my upcoming bag club, we will be tackling 7 different bag projects. One will be released with the step-by-step video instructions and the supplemental PDF instructions every single month. So for the next 7 months, you're going to be busy. You're going to have a ton of projects that you can work on. But then also remember that access to my online video courses never expires. So if you sign up for the club at that early bird sale price, which I love to give you right at the beginning when we open it up to the public, you will be able to have access to that whenever. So if you don't have time to make a bag each month for the next 7 months, no worries. When you do find the time, or maybe when you retire, you'll always be able to log back into your account and access all the content. And we're not quite ready to open up the club yet for signups, but in the meantime, let me show you one quick and easy fix to help your lining in your handbags lie a little bit flatter. Now here I have a couple little samples. These are my 2 exterior fabrics for like a little simple tote, and these are samples for the 2 lining pieces. Most patterns that you'll see out there that you're making, especially for the simpler type of bags, will call for cutting out the exterior fabric and the lining fabric at the same dimensions, okay? So if it tells you that the seam allowance is, let's say in this case, 1/4 inch, say I sewed up my little exterior pouch here for the bag, using 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides, then it tells you to do the same thing for the lining. So 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. So these 2 are identical. So a lot of people wonder, well, if I cut all my pieces out accurately and I sewed accurate 1/4 inch seam allowances, then why in the world does my lining end up being so baggy, like if it's bigger when it's turned in on the inside and put inside the exterior? So let me show you this sample here, and I'm going to go ahead and put them together so you see what the end result is. But again, I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance on this one, sewed it down both sides. But on the lining piece, although it's cut to the same size and the pattern says to go by 1/4 inch seam allowance, I only sewed 1/4 inch in this top inch area here. So from here to about an inch down, I'm still sewing a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, but then after that, I kind of just phase it out into a 1/2 of an inch seam allowance. So you can see that this is a lot wider here than it is up here. The idea is that you do that to both sides. We still want to keep a 1/4 of an inch here because if you're matching side seams from lining to exterior fabric, you want them both to be the same size at those intersections. But the rest of the way down, this is only going to be floating inside of the exterior pouch. And so if you go bigger on both sides here, you end up making the lining pouch a little bit smaller, which in turn then allows it to fit flatter inside of the pouch because you've eaten up some of that extra fabric in your seam allowance. Now for something like this, I would definitely go in and trim away my seam allowance, and you can see I'm kind of veering out that way a little bit just to get rid of some of that excess fabric because I have a chunkier seam allowance in this one. At a 1/4 of an inch, there's not much that you can trim away, so you can just leave it as is. And I'm going to go ahead and flip these guys right side out so that we can compare how the lining fabric falls on the inside of the pouch. And remember, all 4 of these pieces were cut out to the same exact dimensions. The only thing I've done differently is on this sample, made my seam allowance a little bit bigger, 1 inch down from the top and all the way down. Now I've painted the 2 intersections, and that's about all I need since these are really small samples, but at first glance they look identical, and the fabric, the lining fabric on the inside feels like it's going to fit the same. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch these up around this round opening, leaving a little gap somewhere so that we can flip the whole thing right side out. And then when I push the lining in, I want to see what it looks like so you can tell the difference comparing the one with the same seam allowance as the exterior fabric and then the one where we went with a little bit bigger of a seam allowance. All right, I stitched these guys up just along the top edge using the same 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on both. Okay, I've left an opening here, and let's flip these out right side out and compare the linings. And I can already tell this is the one that had the same 1/4 inch seam allowance. This one, the fabric is lying a lot flatter on the inside without as many wrinkles. So let's give these a press and then we'll compare them. All right, so now let's have a look inside at how these bags look. Can you see that this one has some wrinkling going on down there? Because the lining fabric has nowhere else left to go. There's more lining fabric than there is stretched out exterior fabric on this sample. And so if you don't sew handbags, you're probably thinking, this girl has lost it. I don't see a difference, right? But now let's compare it to this one where the fabric just lies perfectly flat in there. Like it just matches the inside space of that exterior fabric. There are no puckered up wrinkles because there is no extra fabric. So by opening up your seam allowance a little bit on both sides, don't do it by too much because then you might end up with a piece that's way too small. But by eating up a little bit more of the fabric in the seam allowance, you end up making it smaller so that it can fit on the interior, right? The exterior fabric is being stretched out and it's spread out along here. The lining fabric is covering a smaller, tighter space where it's not spread out like the exterior fabric. It's all pushed in there together. So by increasing your seam allowance slightly, look how beautiful that looks. It just fits perfectly in there. Whereas if you match it the same, you think it will be the same, but look how much more fabric we have on the inside there. So it might not seem like a huge deal, but trust me, that one little tip will make a world of a difference in your lining. Now, how easy was that? Super quick and easy fix to get your bag linings to lie a little bit flatter in all of your bag making projects. Now, those are just some of the tips and tricks that I like to share with my students in my video Bag of the Month clubs. Remember, in the new one that's coming up, I will be featuring 7 different bag projects. I will teach you how to make each one step by step with high definition video courses, and also the content never expires. On top of that, I also like to provide my students with downloadable PDF instructions that will supplement the videos. So you can print the instructions out and follow along step by step with the videos. You are sure to have successful results. And in my clubs, we don't do any mysteries. So before you even decide to sign up, I will show you all 7 of the projects that will be covered in this bag club so you can decide if the value is worth the cost. Now, my sign-up fees are always a one-time fee. There's no subscription or recurring fee that you have to worry about once you sign up. And if you do so at the limited time early bird sale price, that's it. You get access to all the content as each bag, video course, and PDF instruction is rolled out 1 per month for the next 7 months. Once everything is posted to your account, you have access to all of it indefinitely. So whenever you retire or you decide that you finally have time and things slow down in your busy life, you can always log into your account and access all the projects in the bag club. Now, when I say that we'll be making 7 different bags, you're probably seeing dollar signs and thinking how expensive it's going to be to buy all the materials to make these 7 different bags. So with this bag club, what I've decided to do, because before a business owner, I am definitely a mom on a budget, I am providing my students this go around with so many different options so that you can save money. So many of you over the years have signed up for my clubs and have mentioned to me that now your skills are getting so much better, you're starting to sell your handbags. But now you run into this problem, and a lot of makers tend to run into this, where people that are interested in the product don't really want to pay what it costs to make and the time that you've invested in making it. So what I wanted to do with this bag club is to give you options so that you can cut costs, whether it's for you and your budget, or so that you can open up and give a little more room in there to build up your profit margin if you're trying to cut costs to then flip and sell the projects. So there will be information in this new bag club on what are good substitutions for different types of interfacings, for similar weight fabrics, things that seem to be very overwhelming for beginners. They don't know what to replace when a pattern calls for one specific item. So I will be sharing that with you because I've made so many handbags over the years using a variety of fabrics. I will show you samples of what works, what doesn't work, where you can substitute something that's a lot more cost effective versus a higher end product, and things like that, so that you can decide how much money and time or how little money and time you want to spend to create the different projects I'll be teaching you how to make. And now that you know how to make your linings lie a little flatter on the inside of your bags, go ahead and give this tip a try in your next bag making project. Now, if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up, leave me a comment below, and let me know what part of my new Bag of the Month Club you are most looking forward to. I've been getting dozens of emails, Instagram DMs, and Facebook messages from those of you who are so excited and anxiously awaiting the release of the new bag club. I want to hear from you. Let me know what part of the club you are most looking forward to in the comments section below. And if you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next video, because in the next one, I will be sharing more details with you about my new video Bag of the Month Club. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.